Rain lashed against the windows of the opulent penthouse, mirroring the storm brewing inside Detective Leo Maxwell. His son, Ethan, stood before him, pale but defiant. "I didn't do it, Dad," he insisted, his voice barely a whisper. Leo's phone lay shattered on the Persian rug, the last image on the screen a chilling photo. Damian Blackwood, tech mogul and Leo's longtime nemesis, sprawled dead in his office, a single gunshot wound to the chest. Ethan's fingerprints were on the gun. The security footage, "Ethan," Leo's voice was hoarse, "it shows you entering Blackwood's building last night. Witnesses saw you arguing with him earlier that day." "And the gun, circumstantial," Ethan interrupted, his eyes flashing. "Blackwood. He was a snake, Dad. He threatened Mom, remember? I went to see him, yeah, I confronted him. But I swear, I left before anything happened." Leo wanted to believe him. He desperately needed to believe him. But the evidence was damning. He'd taught Ethan everything he knew about investigation, about controlling his reactions, about the power of observation. Had his own lessons failed him? "Ethan, look at me," Leo pleaded, his voice softening. "You know I have to do my job. Tell me everything. Even the things you think will hurt you. I can protect you, but only if you're honest." Ethan hesitated, then finally confessed. He'd gone to Blackwood's office. Furious after learning Blackwood had made advances towards his mother. They'd argued, Ethan's anger rising. He'd grabbed Blackwood's antique pistol from the desk, intending to scare him. But Blackwood had laughed, taunting him. Ethan, consumed by rage, had. He didn't remember pulling the trigger. He blacked out. Leo felt a cold dread creep through him. A blackout? That changed everything. He knew Ethan had a history of anger management issues, something they'd worked on for years. Had it returned? "Okay, son," Leo said, his mind racing. "We're going to reconstruct everything. Every detail. We need to find the missing piece." They spent the next few hours meticulously retracing Ethan's steps. They visited Blackwood's building, reviewed the security footage again and again. Leo noticed something the police had missed, a flicker in the hallway lights just before Ethan entered Blackwood's office. A power surge. Leo contacted his old friend, a forensic electrician. The report came back quickly. A significant power fluctuation had occurred in the building that night. Enough to temporarily disrupt electronic devices. Including, Leo realized, the security camera's internal clocks. He checked the timestamps on the security footage again. The time Ethan was seen entering Blackwood's office? It was off by precisely 7 minutes. 7 minutes that could change everything. Leo returned to the penthouse, a glimmer of hope in his heart. He sat Ethan down. "Ethan," he said, "I think you're telling the truth. But there's something you need to understand. Blackwood wasn't just a sleazy businessman. He was playing a dangerous game." Leo explained about the power surge, the manipulated timestamps. He showed Ethan a different version of the security footage, corrected for the time discrepancy. It showed Ethan entering Blackwood's office, arguing, grabbing the gun. And then, a figure slipping into the room behind Ethan, unseen. The figure, cloaked in shadow, raised a hand, a small device glinting in the dim light. A taser. It was clear now. Blackwood had planned this. He provoked Ethan, knowing his anger issues, hoping to create the perfect scapegoat. The taser had likely triggered Ethan's blackout, making him believe he'd pulled the trigger. And the figure? They'd finished the job, but who was the figure? Leo studied the footage, focusing on the figure's build, their gait. Something clicked. He recognized the subtle limp, the way the figure held their left arm slightly stiff. He turned to Ethan, his voice grave. Ethan, do you remember who introduced you to Blackwood in the first place? Ethan frowned. Yeah, it was Uncle Michael, Leo's own brother, the man who'd been a constant in their lives, their rock. It couldn't be. But the evidence was undeniable. Michael had the limp, the stiff arm. And he had the motive. Leo had recently discovered Michael had been secretly gambling heavily, losing vast sums of money. Blackwood had been his bookie. Blackwood had threatened to expose him. Michael had needed Blackwood dead, and Ethan had been the perfect pawn. The twist was a gut punch. Leo had been so focused on Ethan's anger, on controlling his reactions, that he'd overlooked the real danger, the cold, calculated manipulation of his own brother. He'd taught Ethan the power of not reacting. But he'd forgotten to apply it to himself. He'd let his emotions, his love for his brother, blind him to the truth. The rain outside had stopped. The storm inside Leo, however, was just beginning. He knew what he had to do. He had to bring Michael to justice, even if it meant tearing his own family apart. The power of not reacting, he realized, was not just about controlling anger. It was about controlling all emotions, even the most painful ones, in the pursuit of truth.